There are ways to get to where you want to be no matter what. We live 2 hours away from the rink, and it was a lot of commitment from my family, but I think that you just have to work really, really hard. I mean, that was the thing, like, it's not handed to you. You can't just say, hey, I want this, but then not go after it. That's the really important part, is that if you want something, you have to go for it. You have to really work and not give up.
When you think about Ada, Oklahoma, figure skating is probably not the next thing that comes to mind, unless you know Jen Howie. An Ada native, Jen has parlayed her love of the sport into not only an exciting career with Disney on Ice, but also a ticket to adventure around the world.
I knew I was never going to go to the Olympics, but I'm still living, I think, a better dream, because I get to come out here and do what I love, play dress up for a living. What little girl doesn't want to dress up as a Disney princess for a living, and travel the world? And so really you just have to put your mind to it, and you can do it if you just work really hard at it and ask for help. There are people all around that will be more than willing to help you get to where you need to go. I've actually been to 36 different countries while I've been on tour. I started in Japan, so that was a big culture shock. It was the first time I was out of the country. My first year, we did Asia, New Zealand, Australia. I've been to Europe several times, South America, South Africa. So it's just been a really wonderful experience to get to be immersed in the different cultures around the world, and to get to skate and perform in the different languages around the world. That's been really fun as well, because every country that we go to, obviously we perform in that language, and so it's pretty neat to see how universal Disney is by, you know, singing it in Flemish or Spanish or French or whatever, and the kids know all of the words. They know everything just like they do here in America, because it's such a universal thing, this Disney phenomenon, and that makes it really fun.
Ada obviously is not known as a hotbed for producing professional ice skaters, but that's exactly where it all started for Jen. She locked in on her dream as a little girl and refused to let go.
When I was younger, my niece actually skated in Oklahoma City, and I went with her to a couple of group lessons, and then a couple of years later, my grandmother was in the hospital, and so to give my sister and I something to do, my dad would take us skating, and I loved it, and I begged my parents to take me for lessons, and they thought, okay, you know, the nearest skating rink is a couple of hours away. After a couple Saturdays of not getting to hang out with her friends, she'll get over it. But I never did, and 20 years later, I'm still skating, and I'm doing it for a living. And my dad took me every week, drove 2 hours, we skated, spent the night, skated in the morning, and drove back. And then in the summers we moved away, and my mom worked extra hard so that we could afford to skate. You know, skating is an expensive sport, and my sister sacrificed a lot because my parents were gone, or they were focused on my skating. And so I know that it was a sacrifice for everybody in the whole family so that I could skate. And that's often the case with a lot of the skaters we have. They've moved away from their families at a young age or whatever. So it was a big sacrifice for my whole family, and so I feel very blessed because my family put in a lot of effort to get me to where I am, and it's paid off because I'm living my dream. I'm skating for a living and traveling the world, and so they're definitely very proud of me.
Ironically, it may have been the perfect storm for Jen to realize her childhood dream. Notwithstanding her own tenacity, there were elements in her Ada upbringing that lent themselves to the creation of a future ice skater.
My dad was a theater director, and so I grew up on the stage, and I grew up performing at, you know, the Ada High Performing Arts productions, and I have always loved performing. There's really a large support system there, and you can feel like these people are personally invested in your success. And I had so many teachers that, you know, let me out of school 30 minutes early on a Thursday because that's when I skated, and invest in me the time that I needed to make up the work, to make the grades, to get to Delaware, to eventually get to, you know, where I am now. And I love that about Ada.
Using her family and the supportive Ada community as a springboard to follow her passion, Jen skated boldly out into the world. Her first stop was along the Atlantic seaboard, where she found a place to develop her skills even further.
Well, I graduated from Ada High School in 2004, and then I went to the University of Delaware, and I actually majored in figure skating. So it sounds like a fake major, but it's real. It was mostly exercise science, but there was a coaching practicum my last couple of years. So I actually have a degree in figure skating. When I graduated from the University of Delaware, I had applied to several different skating shows, and a week before I graduated, Disney emailed me and said, do you want to go to Japan? And I said, yes, please. And so I had always known I'd wanted to do shows, and this was the show that hired me, and I've been doing it for almost 10 years now, and I love it. So I'm really glad because it's fun. It's not just skating, but it's characterization too. You really have to become the different Disney characters, and that is really fun to do that every night.
Blending the stage with ice proved to be the perfect fit for Jen, who also enjoyed the benefits of like-minded coaching. To her benefit, she was able to study and train with skaters who had successfully done exactly what she was attempting to do.
My coach, Alana Jones, and my choreographer, Chris Castleberry, they were both great show skaters and really taught me the love of performing, and they were definitely big proponents of me doing shows, and they talked it up and told me all of the fun that they had doing it, but also really instilled that love of performing and show skating in me, and I would say they were probably my biggest inspirations.
For close to a decade now, Jen has been skating with Disney on Ice, bringing joy to young hearts wherever she goes. It's not a role she takes lightly, or to say it more accurately, they are not roles she takes lightly.
I'm an ensemble skater, so I do a bunch of different roles in each of the storylines. My favorite part is I perform one of Cinderella's ugly stepsisters. I'm Anastasia, and so every night we go out and try to get the prince, and then our heart gets broken every night because he never picks us. It's fun because with our job we have to know every role in the show, because if someone gets injured or someone goes out or someone goes into an understudy, everything shifts and you have to know the role. So that keeps it fun and exciting too, because like I said, live entertainment, and it's different every night, and so it keeps it from being the same old thing. You get to do a different role, and you get to do different characters, and so yeah, I play a lot of different roles throughout the show, but this ugly stepsister is my favorite. You get out there and it's the same, but it's different. I mean, it's live entertainment, so things go funky or whatever, and that's part of the fun of it. But it doesn't matter. This is my favorite part of my job. I say it doesn't matter what kind of a bad day that you're having or what's going on at home or outside of work. You step on the ice, you see those little kids' faces, and they look back at you and they light up because they really believe that you're that character, and there is nothing better in the whole world. It's the best feeling, and so to bring that Disney magic to the kids in different countries is a real privilege.
A career in ice skating has given a lot back to Jen as well, including one major life-changing gift so far. It's a challenging arrangement at times, but like everything else in Jen's life, she has found a positive way to embrace it.
I met my husband on tour with Disney, actually, and he was on the crew, and now he is working for a traveling Broadway show, and so we see each other maybe once every 2 months. It's kind of hectic, but it's kind of the nature of the beast in this line of work, and so we make it work, and we'll see each other for about 12 hours next week just in passing, and then we'll see each other again in a couple of months. And so it's not forever, but it's fun still, and we're both doing what we love, and so that's really what matters at this point, and eventually we'll get off the road and settle down.
Being apart from her husband isn't easy, but Jen is surrounded by people with similar situations. Long stretches on the road brings the skaters closer together, creating more of a family dynamic on the tour.
We really try as much as possible to make it like real life because we are living out of hotel rooms, and so we do what we can to have that semblance of home. Like a lot of people travel cooking stuff, so we try to have parties where we can cook for each other, or we'll have the company will have barbecues for us where we can just interact, and at holidays too, we're each other's families, because I haven't been home for Christmas in 10 years, and so we all are each other's family on the road, and we get to hang out with each other and get to know each other and do lots of different things like that. Like we'll have a Christmas gift exchange, or we'll have a New Year's Eve party where we can all dress up and not be in our workout clothes.
Skating is a very physically demanding sport and profession. Jen and her fellow skaters have to spend as much, if not more, time working off the ice. Because of the difficulty inherent in skating, injuries pose a constant risk.
It's part of the job. It's a very athletic job, obviously, and with it being so athletic, there are injuries, but the company does a good job of taking care of us and really providing the support that we need to stay healthy, and we have to do our part too. We have to work really hard, and we have to go to the gym and make sure that we're staying in shape for the show, and not just in physical shape, but in skating shape too. We can practice before and after the shows. They have what we call open ice, so we can skate and work on understudies that we're going to present, or just on our own skating, on our elements, to make sure that we're staying up to the level that we need to be so that we're putting out the best show that we need to put out.
One of the undeniable benefits of working with Disney on Ice is the opportunity to skate in exotic, faraway places. This provides Jen with the unique privilege of doing exactly what she wants to do anywhere and everywhere around the world.
We performed in Thailand, and I have to say Thailand was one of my favorite places. South America, the crowds are unbelievably loud. They love it. They get so into it. They stomp their feet and scream, and that was really cool. But outside of the show, I spent a few of my birthdays in Paris. That just happens to be the time of year where our show is. And so there's a skating rink at one of the Christmas markets in front of the Eiffel Tower, and there's a skating rink along the Champs-Elysees. So we took our skates and skated in both of those places, and that was sort of outside of work, a really cool experience to do that too, and kind of perform some tricks in Paris, and that was a pretty surreal experience. We do an Eastern Europe tour, and it's the only tour with Disney that I have not done, and I would love to go to some of those cities on the Eastern Europe tour. Like I said, I started in Asia, but I was so young and so new, and I'd love to go back and do that again before it's time to retire and get off the road.
Although ice skating keeps Jen globetrotting, there is one place she holds in higher regard, her hometown. The saying, "It takes a village," definitely applies to her childhood days there.
I live in Ada when I'm at home. I love it, and it's fun. It's a nice place to come home to because it's home. Every break from college, I came home to Ada, and now every break from tour, I come home to Ada. And so I've developed almost a different set of friends as an adult coming home, and it's great. And it's always so nice to see everybody, and you come back, and after traveling this big, crazy world, and you come home to Ada, and it's a really wonderful place to come home to, and a good feeling of, like, oh, okay, I'm back. I loved growing up in Ada because there was such a sense of community. I mean, everybody knows everybody. I knew that if I ever did anything bad, it would get home to my parents before I got home. So I definitely think that growing up in a small town keeps you, for me at least, it kept me, on the straight and narrow. And I'm still in touch with a lot of my high school teachers, my dance teachers. I was in the band at Ada High, I was in performing arts, and I'm still in touch with a lot of those people. I see them, we go for coffee when I go home. And so I have to say, when I was growing up, I was so excited to get out and go to a big city and whatever. And now as an adult, I really appreciate what I had and what I grew up with.
It is a beautiful and perhaps increasingly more difficult achievement when someone fulfills their childhood dreams. Jen has a lot of professional skating left to do, but she realizes it won't last forever. That realization helps her stay in the moment and enjoy what she does night in and night out.
It's a wonderful feeling. I do a lot of pair skating, and so when you're up in the lifts, and it kind of feels like flying, I guess. It's the closest thing to flying, and it's really sort of a rush of adrenaline, and I love putting on music and just skating, just getting out there and just sort of skating from the heart and stringing different moves together and just making up my own choreography and performing. It really is a rush. I think skating will always be a part of my life. I love to skate, and I will probably coach or choreograph or something for the rest of my life. Maybe not as my main job, but who knows, it's kind of addicting, it gets in your blood. And I said I would just do 5 years when I started, and here I am 10 years later. So who's to say? But I love the impact that you can have on kids' lives by coaching, and I know what an impact that my coach had on every aspect of my life, and I love the thought of being able to pour back into the community and to kids' lives and help them with whatever they need.